Welcome back to A Byte in Time, the series of myself going back in time and watching weekly shows and pay-per-views from the WWE for the first time or the first time in a very long time. This is going to be kind of a reset of the series. Before, I was doing a lot of the work that didn't translate into good content, so here's how the future videos for this series are going to work. I'll be watching the weekly shows to get an understanding and a feel for the product and the storylines at the time, but I won't be breaking down every single Raw and SmackDown. That'll just be too monotonous. Instead, I'll bring up some key points, moments, some story beats, or some matches that happened between each of these pay-per-views that either enhanced or hampered my viewing experience as a whole. So yeah, I'll go segment by segment, match by match on all of these pay-per-views in order. I'll be given some star ratings, best and worst matches, and moments from these events, and also just a ranking of every pay-per-view I've watched. I've seen SummerSlam, I did a video on that. I watched Unforgiven, and I didn't do a video on that. I didn't like how it came out. So getting all that out of the way, let's move on to the pay-per-view of the video, and that is No Mercy from 2002, headlined by Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell. Now, I didn't watch any of the build-up to this show, so what I mentioned before is going to be how it's going to be moving forward. I just want to dive straight into this event. When the pay-per-view opened up with Taker and Kane doing comedy backstage, asking each other how their weeks went, and then transitioning into a video package recapping the Katie Vick storyline, I thought it might have been a mistake in watching this pay-per-view, but don't worry, it definitely gets better after this point. The first match on the card was Chris Jericho and Christian retaining the World Tag Team titles by defeating Booker T and Goldust in 7 minutes and 55 seconds, and I gave this match a solid 3 stars. This match seems more like a setup to extend the ongoing feud between Booker T and Chris Jericho, which makes sense given that they're both in the Elimination Chamber match at Survivor Series that's coming up, and also allows for a tag team title match defense at the same time. This really wasn't anything special work rate wise. The highlight of the match for me was when the middle rope actually broke when Jericho went for the lion salt and they had to adjust to the finish on the fly. It was very interesting to see a true professional like Chris Jericho and Booker T, Goldust, Christian having to deal with something so unexpected and changing the finish of the match to a belt shot to Goldust and then a moonsault off the top rope, which I'm sure that Jericho hadn't practiced in a long time, but he kind of just had to do something. They only got 8 minutes for this match, and there was a legendary tag match later down on the card, so can't expect much more than this. Moving past that, number one reporter Funaki has a big scoop backstage with Al Wilson, who is Tori Wilson's father, recapping Dawn Marie seducing him over the past various weeks. And this man is, I don't know how old this guy is. He was probably, 60 or 70 at this point? And I know he passed away a few years ago, so rest in peace to Al Wilson. This was incredibly stupid, but it made me laugh a few times because Funaki was very funny. This storyline sucks, but this recap was pretty funny considering I didn't even know about this storyline. This did transition into the second match of the night. We had Tori Wilson defeating Dawn Marie in 4 minutes and 57 seconds, and I gave this match 1.25 stars. Yeah, I mean, look, back in this era, these matches were never designed to be good or treated equally to the men's matches. I did think that Dawn took a sick bump to the floor when the match first started from a Tori dropkick. She just landed flat on her side. It looked pretty bad. I thought Dawn Marie looked surprisingly solid in this match for her experience level, but besides that, this was really just nothing. And the finish was Tori Wilson won with a weak-looking neckbreaker. We then get back to Jonathan Coachman backstage interviewing RVD, who cuts a really bad babyface promo where he calls himself a chair-smashing, frog-splashing, risk-taking, yinin and yangin' Van Daminating dude named Rob Van Dam. Coach then interviews some woman named Tracy, who apparently accused Taker of cheating on his wife or something. I didn't know this at the time, but I just wrote we'll find out more later on the show, and we did. Third match on the card was Rob Van Dam defeating Ric Flair in 8 minutes and 5 seconds. I gave this match a flat 2.5 stars. Ric Flair turned heel and cost RVD the world title against Triple H multiple times in various matches, so that's how this feud and match had been set up. Flair is pretty bad at this point, and every match I've seen of his during this time frame is him really working with talented guys and having to rely on chops as really his only offense besides the figure four. Maybe I missed something here. Jerry Lawler, I'm not making this up, randomly asked JR, do you think pregnant women are attractive? And JR just asked, what the hell is wrong with him? Jerry Lawler is fucking atrocious. He is a horrendous commentator. He is bad. The entire match was pretty much just basic legwork from Flair here, with RVD having to battle back. Eventually, he made the comeback, totally stopped selling the leg, and hit a 5-star frog splash out of nowhere for the win. Really nothing special to see here and can totally be skipped without missing anything. To the back, once again, Big Show is complaining to Stephanie McMahon and Eric Bischoff. This is just setting up for Big Show to be traded to SmackDown and eventually challenging Lesnar for the WWE title. Fourth match on the card, we had Jamie Noble with Nydia defeating Tajiri to retain the Cruiserweight Championship in 7 minutes and 20 seconds. This was the best match on the show so far. I gave this match 3.25 stars. The feud for this match is that Tajiri was getting too close to Nydia, I think, and so he was turned babyface. I don't really know. I have personally found the Jamie Noble character kind of entertaining just because I've seen tons of people where I live that sound and dress like him. Lots of kicks from Tajiri, and Noble was super smooth in this. Sadly, this never really got enough time to get into another gear and was hurt by the finish for me personally, where Nydia held Noble's legs to give him the leverage on a roll through for the win. After the match, Tajiri makes out with Nydia, and then Noble gets mad and proceeds to make out with Nydia himself. I think he said he was like proving how you make out like a true man or something. I don't know. And Noble gets a buzzsaw kick to the back of the head for his troubles. That was a interesting way, I guess, for Tajiri to get his heat back. Backstage, Chris Benoit is looking for Eddie Guerrero and tells him that Chavo is getting his ass beat by Kurt Angle in a locker room that has its door closed. This is a pretty funny segment with Eddie being hilarious and not believing the voice from the locker room being Chavo's. He immediately gets proven wrong as Chavo gets slung out of the locker room. This was whatever. It was funny. We had Triple H defeating Kane to retain the World Heavyweight Championship and retire the Intercontinental Championship in 16 minutes and 15 seconds. I gave this match 1 fucking star. This was awful. The storyline, the action, the time it went, I mean, it was so bad. The build of this match seemed to be that Triple H kept saying Kane was a murderer and murdered Katie Vick, and that was because Kane was drunk driving. I mean, dude, I have no idea how they made this match that went 16 minutes feel this long. It's actually impressive. The entire first 10 minutes of the match were just incredibly boring and a total slog, and like I mentioned earlier, Jerry Lawler continues to be completely insufferable, talking about semen and other horrendous topics instead of the world or Intercontinental title being at stake, and this just became completely overbooked in the final stretch with both Flair and the Hurricane running down. Flair runs down first and brings Triple H the title, and he nails Kane with it. Kane kicks out and the Hurricane fends off Flair, but then Triple H hits a pedigree on the floor to the Hurricane to take him out. More and more shenanigans, and eventually Kane gets hit with a sledgehammer and a pedigree to give Triple H the win. Truly awful. Backstage, Tracy from earlier is in Stephanie's office. Stephanie tricks her into admitting that her accusations were false. Taker barges in and says, "Thanks, Steph," and this storyline is wrapped up. Not sure what this really did for anybody, but we move on. The 6th match on the card, we had Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle defeating Rey Mysterio and Edge to win the inaugural WWE Tag Team Championships in 22 minutes and 1 second. And I almost went the full 5 on this, but I gave this match 4 3/4 stars. This match was the culmination of a tag team tournament to determine the inaugural champs. So this is my first time seeing this match, and it really blew me away. The pace, the moves, the near falls. This was beautiful tag team wrestling, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. My first note for this match, Rey Mysterio is very juiced up and oily. I didn't notice just how ripped he was during this era. He was absolutely jacked. They started off a little slow, building the tension for the match. It was very technical and physical in that regard. And what made this match really special was that even though it was like kind of slower in the beginning, it was never dull or uninteresting, which is very rare in these longer tag team matches. You don't need tons of interference or promos in the ring while the match is happening or months of storyline build up. This was a simple tag team tournament, and the guys in it were excellent workers who had the crowd in the palm of their hands by the time the match ended. The last 10 minutes of this match were absolutely nuts, with some insane near falls that had the crowd going absolutely wild. These guys were just absolutely tearing the house down. The only reason that this isn't 5 stars for me, I just feel like it's a truly special rating that you give to a match that just makes you feel a certain type of way, and if you give it out to every single fantastic match, then it just loses its meaning long term. Ultimately, Angle countered into an ankle lock and forced Edge to tap out. Definitely go out of your way to watch this if you haven't seen it, as it was one of my favorite tag matches I've seen in a very long time. Throwing it backstage once again, Undertaker is getting a shot in the hand from some dude, I guess a doctor, one would assume, named Larry. Taker bullies him into giving him a shot. I guess this is giving us the impression that Taker is going into his match under the influence of heavy drugs and some pain relief for his wrist, and that'll play a factor in the main event. The semi-main event for No Mercy 2002 had Trish Stratus defeating Victoria to retain the WWE Women's Championship in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I gave this match 1 3/4 stars. Jerry Lawler is once again abysmal on commentary. This man should have been put in jail for how he talks about these women during these matches. Very little time, and the crowd couldn't be bothered to care about this clear cooldown match. Victoria dominated for most of the match until Trish goes for the Stratus faction and turns it into a roll-up for the win. Nothing to see here, and I hope their match at Survivor Series is better. Rikishi is then shown in Times Square's New York and gives a awful promo. Just an awful promo, putting over how good Undertaker is in a Hell in a Cell match. Guess this was just to get Rikishi on the show. The main event of the evening, we had Brock Lesnar defeating The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match to retain the WWE Heavyweight Championship in 27 minutes and 15 seconds. This match fell a little short of the tag team title match for me. I still gave this one 4.5 stars though. It was also an incredible match. Taker really stepped up in this match and gutted through a legitimate wrist injury to put over Lesnar. I'll say this right off the bat, I thought Paul Heyman was incredibly annoying in this match. He's yelling very loudly constantly while he's being mic'd up, and for some reason does a random blade job about 5 minutes into the match after getting a big boot from Taker from inside the cage while Heyman was outside. It was all just really strange. This type of match really hides Taker's weaknesses at this time very well. He doesn't really excel in grappling exchanges or technical wrestling, obviously. He's a brawler, and this was essentially a massive brawl with tons of blood inside a cell. Crazy looking spot in this match. Taker couldn't lift the steel stairs up because of the injured wrist, so Lesnar took the steps himself and absolutely destroyed Taker with them multiple times. It looked sick. Taker then gave us one of the most disgusting blade jobs of all time. I can see if people don't like blood that this would turn them away because it was unbelievably graphic. It's one of the more disgusting looking blade jobs I've seen. Taker had attempted a pinfall on the outside of the ring earlier in the match, and the ref counted it, right? I mean, it's Hell in a Cell, so, you know, you would assume that. So when Taker hits the last ride, why does the referee give Lesnar the rope break when he grabs the bottom rope? It is what it is. I just thought it was kind of strange. And then for the finish, Lesnar counters a tombstone into an F5 and puts away Undertaker in an overall incredible match. And to recap, the best match of the night was the Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio and Edge. The worst match of the night was Triple H versus Kane. And then I have a few moments. The best moments of the night was hearing Taker's American Badass theme song play, just fantastic stuff. Taker's insane blade job was another great moment. Lesnar standing on top of the cell with the title to end the show I thought was a really great way to put him over even more. I mean, he's beaten Hogan, he's beaten Rock, he's beaten Taker, and then he's on top of the cell bloodied up, and was a great visual. And then the closing sequence between Angle and Benoit and Edge and Rey, those are just some of my favorite moments from the show. And then the worst moments of the show, the Katie Vick storyline being in full swing throughout the decent portion of it was just really, really bad. Jerry Lawler's commentary during every single match, especially the women's matches, he's awful. He's real bad. And the final worst moment of the night is Al Wilson's backstage interview. I mean, it was, for me, so bad that it was good, but just a bad storyline overall. Not very good stuff. Then the overall rating, I struggled with this going back and forth because there was a lot of stuff on this show that I did not like. And then the rest of the show is either, you know, average or incredible. When you have two matches at the high level and magnitude of the tag team title match and the main event, Hell in a Cell, I think you have to give this show at least an 8 out of 10, and that's what I'm going to give it. I think I personally like it better than SummerSlam 2002, so I'd rank No Mercy first out of the 3 pay-per-views that I've watched from this era, the other 2 being SummerSlam in second and Unforgiven being in third. That is going to do it for this episode of A Byte in Time. Thank you all for watching, and if you'd like to see more episodes like this, let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any in the future. But I will see you all next time, which will be for Survivor Series in this series. Until then, I will talk to you all later. Bye.